Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Always Closing podcast. Today I have Ava Gromadzka from Coldwell Banker. So thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background and how you got into real estate?
Of course. So I am Polish and I have a degree in construction management, and I did construction management for many years, for over a decade, back in Europe, also in United States.
Okay.
I used to own a construction company too, and I always loved buildings, interior design, homes, and
It's always kind of been your niche.
Yes, that's right. And then at one point, I just decided to change it a little bit, and then I switched from construction management to real estate.
And when did you move from Poland to the United States?
I actually moved from Poland to Denmark.
Okay.
I lived over there for many years. That's where I got my construction management degree. That's where I had my
Nice.
construction company. And then I moved to United States 10 years ago.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, the construction project management?
Yes, of course. So I did my specialization in, I think personally, in a very interesting niche, which is environment-friendly high-rise buildings. And so I specialized in that. And
What exactly does that mean?
yes, so people will always build buildings, right? And we will always either inhabit buildings or go to the offices in buildings, but we can construct buildings that are environment friendly.
Okay.
And there are buildings that are zero emissions, but these are like completely new construction. But there are buildings that have been retrofitted to be environment friendly, and these are existing ones, right? So there are a plethora of solutions for a building to...
So it's similar to like someone's house, right? Like they can have all these eco-friendly washer and dryer, air conditioning, things like that. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yes, and it's much more, right? Because environment-friendly buildings include construction, even positioning of the building in the right way towards
really?
south, east, and so on and so forth. Then you have building materials that can be environment friendly. The whole design can be environment friendly, and that's easy to imagine because obviously, for example, bigger the windows, the more environment friendly building can be, because then you have more natural sunlight.
Right.
And then you incorporate environment friendly solutions like AC systems, lighting, plumbing, heating, into all the other environment friendly components. So there are so many things that can be done to make a building environment friendly. Even the use of colors.
Really?
Of course, because for example, when you have a roof made of dark colors, let's say a black roof, it will heat up so
attract more
much.
heat.
Yes.
Right.
So then you have to use much more energy to cool it off.
Right.
Meanwhile, you can use, let's say, white color finishes, and that will make, a huge difference in energy use to cool off the building.
That's very interesting. There's a lot of things that maybe most people that are not educated in that don't even think about.
Yeah.
But I could imagine how if you combine all those things, all of
Make
them
a huge
together make a
impact.
big difference. Yeah.
Yes, of course. And as I say, sometimes these are very easy things. And an interesting thing about it is every person can make steps toward having their home environment friendly and living a sustainable lifestyle. Because, for example, apart from building new homes, we renovate our homes, right?
Right.
Apartments, condos. So the way to make it sustainable is to use sustainable materials. And how to do that? So again, That's very easy. Instead of using, for example, tiles from Italy,
Right.
that's not sustainable because they have to come all the way down here, whereas you have such a big choice, let's say, of tiles and other materials that you can resource not only in the United States, but let's say to make it very environment friendly locally, that are produced locally, you know, and then make it more sustainable. So yeah, the solutions are there for everyone.
Very interesting. So it sounds like you brought a lot of that past experience into this new real estate career of yours, right?
Of course, I always, I want to be sustainable, you know, in my lifestyle. So a part of it is to have that sustainable lifestyle, and also making people aware how they can make it with very easy steps.
So how long ago did you move from project management into real estate, and how was that transition for you?
So I moved last year, and that transition for me was pretty easy because it was during COVID.
Right.
So it was no-brainer. Everything was under the lockdown, so I studied, took the exam, and since then I've been a real estate agent. Yeah, and I love it.
Wow, that's actually pretty interesting, because I felt like you would have been a real estate agent a lot longer, just based on like your videos and your experience. You would think that you've been in real estate a long time, but
because,
you've actually done a lot in 1 year.
Yeah, a long time. Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And we're currently here in Pacific Palisades at your guys' office.
Yes.
Is this the area that you normally farm, like this coastal area between, I know we met before in Santa Monica.
Right.
Is this the area that you focus on mainly?
Yes. So I work of 2 offices. The first office is on Montana in Santa Monica.
Okay.
And this is my second location, where I usually do a lot of paperwork, Pacific Palisades. And these are the areas that I mainly farm. But I do have clients from all over. So I do have land for sale in Sunland, Tuhanga, for example.
Right.
I don't know if you've been there.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful area.
Very nice, yeah.
With horses, ranches, amazing. I have investment property in Boyle Heights, and some apartments for leases in Santa Monica. So yeah, I work with a lot of areas, but my offices are located in Santa Monica and Pacific Palisades.
Okay. And how competitive is it out here? You know, I would imagine that a lot of agents want to work in this area because obviously the value of the homes are more here.
Yeah.
How competitive is it, and what are you doing to make yourself stand out?
So I never approach any business I had or profession in terms of competitiveness, because I know it's there, but I always focus more on actually working with other agents, and I do have a lot of collaborations, co-sharing of listings, and every agent has different expertise or sometimes various knowledge or experiences that you can share. Right. So I'm more about sharing and collaboration, and sending out that positive, image of collaborating instead of competing.
Yeah.
Basically, for me, competition doesn't exist.
Right.
Because everyone has their own clients, their own area, and when you're good and focused and passionate about what you do, you will have people that will only want to work solely with you.
Right. It's a great way to look at it, and I've heard many people say, especially in a city like Los Angeles, there's plenty of business for everybody.
Yeah.
So
in every business.
Right. Yeah.
With the right approach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's transition over to your social media. So one of the reasons I wanted to interview you is because obviously you have a big following on social media.
Right.
I think your Instagram has about 18,000 followers.
Right.
So first of all, what did you do to get it to that point? And how important is it to you to maintain that account and constantly posting and engaging with your following on there?
So when I was transitioning from construction project management to real estate, I actually took some time off to travel, and I've been all over the world, Asia, Africa, South America, all over United States. So I do have a YouTube account, Travel the World Hack. One word, no spacing, where I posted videos from all my travels, and that's where my Instagram started getting a lot of traction, you know, because these were like nice places, you know, the way to travel, where to go, what kind of food to taste, what kind of experiences to have when you are, for example, I don't know, in Cambodia or in Tanzania. So I guess people love that, and I was getting a lot of following. I would say at that time Instagram was much more open. Right now the easiest way to grow your Instagram is to be consistent and to go viral, for example with Reels. Right. But that's basically how I was getting a lot of following. And you asked me how about the importance of keeping and posting. I think it's very important to be active for your business and for your social media image all the time. And I am. And often people ask me how to do that. And I always say, don't reinvent yourself, you know? So when you're like posting, don't do anything that is not you. For me, an easy way to maintain my social media and my following is simply to record my life, you know, because we always do some exciting stuff where, you know, you visit either an interesting restaurant or you go on a little trip or on hiking. In real estate, we have brokers open, you know, or other open houses on weekends, meeting with the clients, coming listings, sold listings. There's like just so much to post. And you don't need to reinvent yourself, because then that's very difficult to post something that is not you, but just record your life, record what's going on, and then you will have all those media going and following.
And how has that contributed to your success in real estate?
So I think it's very important because you stay on top of mind. When people see you all the time on social media, you stay on top of mind, right? And with real estate is that people, not necessarily that one person needs to buy or sell a house in that moment, right? It's impossible. When someone buys or sells the house, it's a special moment in their lifetime. Right. But when you're staying in top of mind, you can be sure that they will think of you if they see you all the time. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I also noticed on your social media that you kind of collaborate with local businesses in the area. Like I noticed that you collaborated with the Mercedes dealer in the area.
That's true.
So what is the strategy behind that, and how important is it to be involved in the community like that?
So I, in general, like to support businesses, you know, entrepreneurship, people who come with initiatives. So I do it very often, and just for the sake of promoting a business. On top of that, you know, also you establish relationships with new people and new businesses. You have, again, content for your social media. So there are like so many benefits to that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good idea that I feel like people are not doing enough. You know, they strictly just focus on themselves and the real estate that they're dealing with, but not being involved in the community. You know, so there's so many restaurants, so many businesses that you can become known in those areas.
Oh, and yes, and I was so welcomed. I did collaborations with restaurants in Santa Monica, actually one right by my office. And
what's it called, so maybe people can check it out?
the restaurant is Margot. It's wonderful, right by Coldwell Banker office, and it's plant-based, phenomenal food. You would never know it's vegan. And healthy, tasty, great price range. And they welcomed me so well. You know, I even didn't intend to come and, let's say, to eat there, not paying for my bill, but they didn't want to. You know, I literally just came there to promote the places because that's what I do all the time. And they're just like, no, forget about the bill. So I was like, okay, great. Yeah, so it's
Well,
very
nice.
nice. Yeah. It's I think like supporting each other, you know, in businesses, it's important because if you support other people, your business will grow naturally.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Let's transition a little bit now to the market and where you see the state of the real estate market, specifically in your area. Like, how much has this changing market affected these areas around here?
Right. So as we know, we have rising interest rates. Right now is like a little bit above 7%.
Yeah.
And so with that, what is happening? Last 2 months, we have prices stabilizing and also declining, right? And with that, we still have buyers, we still have interest on listings, but not so much bidding wars, right? So I would always say for people, is it good time to buy? Is it good time to sell? There's always good time because there are always pros and cons. It's most important what is your step and what would you like to do with your investment, right? With your capital. Why? For example, a few months ago, yes, the real estate, the interest rates, were ridiculously low, but you had incredible bidding wars, 15, 20 or more people bidding for the same house or condo.
Like, how many people are getting discouraged and just like, you kind of like, forget it, I'm just gonna wait, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you had to pay so much over the asking price and sometimes still not get it.
Right.
That was the reality. And I had so many clients and coworkers that would bid with their clients 10, 15 times and they couldn't get a property, right? And now people say, okay, the interest rates are rising, let's wait. And like, okay, historically in the 80s, we would have 18% interest rates. Right now we have around, and nothing near, you know, to what it used to be.
Right.
And you have declining prices and not many offers on the table where you can easily get a property, right? So, okay, you would like to wait, but how long? Maybe you want to wait and then interest rates are much higher, right? I think it's a phenomenal time to buy and to sell because on the other hand, when you're selling your property, like prices haven't declined, you know, suddenly, tremendously, right? They either stabilized or declined a little bit. So I would say it's a very good time to do business both ways.
And what advice would you have for, let's say, agents that are maybe struggling a little bit right now? You know, the ones that maybe they got into the business a few years ago and they kind of experienced that, you know, like what we were just talking about, a completely different market. Now it's kind of shifted.
Right.
What advice do you have for someone that's maybe struggling a little bit, or this is their first time going through this kind of cycle?
Yes, a very good question, by the way. So one of the most important thing, and I say to a lot of people who ask me about the advice, is the mindset. And I can't stress it enough. And that's a good advice for any kind of business. Because if you believe that things are going wrong, I believe they will go wrong.
Yeah.
If you believe that things are good and positive, that will be reflected in your business and in your life. And I'm not saying that keeping a positive mindset is the easiest thing in the world, but it's the key. So instead of sometimes going and trying to get a business and working yourself to that, like, focus on yourself and where is your mind, because that's where everything starts, right? It starts from the mindset and how you think about yourself, how you think about your business, about your life, how you're approaching everything. So when you will start from that base where you will build strong belief system and mindset, then you can go and start doing the things that you want to do, but not the other way around.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So then the next step and advice is to be very consistent, right? But with the positive mindset, you will have that. Meaning, if you started, calling your past clients, cold calling, door knocking, whatever you do, it's very important to be consistent and continue just doing that with that positive mindset,
right?
Because then things will just naturally start happening for you. That's the way it is. So be consistent, be positive, work on your social media.
Right, and it's hard, right? I mean, because people on my sales team, especially salespeople, right? And if you're a real estate agent, you're essentially a salesperson as well.
Of course.
So when people first get into this industry, they can go months and months and months just hearing no, 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 right?
That's true.
And that's one of the questions I always ask people, is because you got to have that positive mindset.
Yes.
Because you got to find that yes, but if you get discouraged after 50 no's, then you're gonna work your way out of the business pretty quick. You got to have that strong mindset and that positive mindset that you're eventually going to get to that yes.
That's right. The more I heard this very good saying that there are no failures in life, only lessons.
Exactly.
And the only failure that there can be is when you give up. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing, because anything else would be an experience that you either grow or learn from, and both
right.
are equally important.
Exactly. I know you can't predict the market, but
mm-hmm.
where do you kind of see it going from here? Mm-hmm. Do you think we're kind of still in dangerous waters, or do you kind of see that this is kind of settling a little bit and things kind of start to go back to normal?
Funnily enough, I had this kind of question asked by one of the clients yesterday, mm-hmm. and he really wanted me to tell him what am I thinking, where it is going, and I always want to stand by what I'm saying. That's why I can't say exactly where it will go, but I can speak to the trend, right? So I would say, as for real estate market, people ask me about the recession, depression, whatever. It will depend on interest rates, right? So the rising interest rates will result in prices declining, obviously, right. And less buyers, and switching from the seller's market to buyer's market, right? How this and from now on, what we see, the interest rates are rising all the time, right? So it is a, for now, continuing trend, and I can't say 100% how it will go, because no one knows. I actually expected, big crash in the market, like at least, 2 years ago. And it never happened.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were thinking that.
And I was like, I'm 100% sure, and I was just talking to myself, it's gonna crash, and I was thinking like, oh, those people are it's gonna crash so bad, and it didn't. And during COVID, when I thought it will totally crash, the prices went up and market went up, right. With insane prices, right?
That's funny. Yeah,
hikes.
When I bought my house, I think I've had it like almost 5 years now. Mm-hmm. I remember back in that time, I was like, I don't know if I want to buy it now because I feel like it's gonna crash. That was 5 years ago.
And it didn't happen.
Yeah, so I'm glad I decided to make that move.
That's a very good example of thinking, because the right thinking, because in a long span, and I do understand people who are afraid to buy because maybe something won't happen. But the thing is, with real estate, the prices cannot go back ever. Let's say if you bought something 5 years ago to the level from 70s or the 80s or the 90s or it's just over the decades it's not going to happen. If you keeping on holding on to the property, the value will rise with time anyways. Obviously, if you would like to flip it within a year, right? That's a totally different scenario.
And different strategy of buying and everything. Yeah,
exactly. But you basically, if you holding on to real estate long term, it's almost impossible to lose.
Right.
Yeah.
So you gave us a lot of good tips. I'm really appreciative that you did this interview, and I wanted you for you to leave us with one last tip that you can give to any new realtors, maybe struggling realtors, something that you can leave them with, and also where can they find more information about you, and where can people follow you?
I would like to say what I said before. The most important thing is to keep positive mind, have a healthy routine, and never give up. People can find my profile on Instagram, TikTok, Ava Golden Properties, that's where they can find me.
That's the same on Instagram and YouTube?
YouTube, I have only travel account.
Okay.
And that was Travel the World Hack.
Got it.
But
I gotta check those videos out.
yes, please. So that's Travel the World Hack on YouTube, and then Instagram and TikTok, Ava Golden Properties.
Perfect. Well, Ava, thank you so much again, and I hope everyone that watches enjoys the interview and gets a lot of value out of her experience. So thanks again for watching the Always Closing podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you.